Silence weighs more heavily when the mind never stops. You look around and feel like nobody notices. Everything seems too slow for you. Conversations are tiring. The answers come before the questions. And even so, you feel alone. It's not a lack of people. It's overthinking. That's understanding too much. And to feel like you don't fit in anywhere. Perhaps you're hearing this in the middle of the night, when the world sleeps, but your mind stays awake, thinking about what you said, and what I didn't say. How could things have been different? You analyze everything, every detail, every glance, every silence, and that hurts more than it seems. Being intelligent isn't always a gift. Sometimes it's an invisible weight, a burden that no one sees. Because on the outside you look fine, functional, capable. I'm quite surprised. But inside, there is a constant exhaustion, as if you were always one step ahead, and completely alone in that place. You notice things that others ignore, hidden intentions, contradictions, subtle lies, and this creates an automatic distance, because when you see too much, you get disappointed faster, trust less, protect yourself more, and it begins to fall silent. Perhaps you learned to observe early on, something to think about, to fend for himself. While others were playing, you were analyzing. While others felt it, you understood. And that made you strong. But it also made you lonely, because nobody taught you what to do. When the mind grows faster than the heart, if you feel different, it's not arrogance, it's not coldness, it's not a lack of empathy. It's about carrying a mind that never shuts off. It's about feeling too much and showing too little. It's about surviving in silence. And perhaps deep down you just want someone who understands, without you needing to explain everything. Notice that this has a name. It's not laziness. It's not a drama. That's no exaggeration. It's the psychological burden of thinking outside the box, to feel beyond, to perceive beyond. Many people experience this, but few can explain it, because there are not enough words to describe this pain. Have you ever wondered why you feel out of place even among people close to you? Why are superficial conversations so tiring? Why do you isolate yourself even though you want connection? Why does your mind never rest? There's a silent wound there, a constant internal conflict, between wanting to belong and not being able to adapt, between understanding everything and not to be understood. Psychology observes this closely. Highly intelligent people feel things more intensely. They perceive more nuances. They connect more dots. And this creates a permanent internal noise. You don't just live the experiences, you revisit them. As analysis, it reconstructs them in the mind. And this comes at a high emotional cost. This dilemma is almost never noticed from the outside, because intelligence is often admired, and admiration hides suffering. People see the results, not the internal process. They see the clarity, not the confusion. They see the logic, not anguish. And so, their pain remains nameless. There is also expectation. You feel you need to be strong. That cannot fail. That which cannot be confused. Because you are intelligent. And that's what imprisons you. Because they don't let you make mistakes. I didn't even feel it. Don't even ask for help. You become a hostage to your own abilities. Ultimately, the dilemma is simple and cruel. Overthinking doesn't teach you to feel better. Understanding everything doesn't protect you from emptiness. And understanding too much doesn't prevent the pain. On the contrary, sometimes it expands. And while the world awaits answers from you, you just wanted to rest. Inner silence. And someone might ask, "How are you really?" Leave your comments below. This pattern starts early, often in childhood, when you needed to understand something too quickly. Read the environment, predicting reactions. Adapt so it doesn't hurt. The mind became a form of protection. Thinking has become a shield. Feeling has become a risk. And that was recorded. When a child perceives more than they can process, she learns to observe in silence, learn to anticipate, learn not to bother others. Don't make a mistake, not depending on it. She grows up being praised for her intelligence, but little embraced by emotion. And gradually he learns that thinking is safer than feeling, even if it costs a lot. Over time, this pattern repeats itself. You enter environments already analyzing everything: climate, voice tone, gestures, what is being said, and what is being hidden. Your mind is working all the time, even when you try to relax, even when nobody notices. Intelligence expands awareness, and a restless conscience breeds anxiety. You see too many possibilities, too many scenarios, too many consequences. Deciding becomes a burden, because everything seems to have a high emotional cost. So you postpone it, reassess, think about it a little more, and he gets tired even before he acts. There is also silent insecurity, not due to incapacity, but due to excessive lucidity. You know how much you don't know. See the flaws in the system, yours, those of others, and that undermines trust. While others continue without thinking, you freeze up by overthinking. The behavior appears in a subtle way: isolation, mild irony, prolonged silence, difficulty asking for help, difficulty in showing vulnerability. Because when you learn to fend for yourself, dependence seems like weakness, even if inside there is a deep weariness, a hidden desire to simply rest your mind. He was in a room full of people, but the silence inside him seemed stronger. He observed the conversations happening around him, but his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't keep up with the pace of the words. They seemed too small, as if they weren't enough to fill what he felt. It was as if each conversation was a distraction for his mind, which was always ahead, but nobody saw it. He was smiling as always. He spoke enough not to stand out, but what was going on inside him was far from that. It was a constant internal struggle, a struggle to fit into a place where he knew he didn't belong. At work, his mind was a well-oiled machine. He analyzed everything, everyone, and when someone asked him for an answer, he already had the solution before the question was even asked. But what no one saw was the pressure of always having to be the answer. The pressure to be the brilliant one, the wise one, the capable one. But he didn't feel that way. Inside him there was a void that no external solution could fill. He was becoming increasingly isolated. Not because I didn't want to connect, but because the burden of perceiving too much prevented him from genuinely engaging. He was afraid of getting lost in emotions he didn't know how to handle. At home, the situation was no different. He found himself alone with his thoughts, trying to distract himself with simple tasks. But even peace seemed distorted. The mind was always seeking more, analyzing more, demanding more, and he felt exhausted. But even so, the idea of asking for help seemed unthinkable. How could I explain something so difficult to understand? How could he ask for something he didn't even know for sure what it was? His sadness wasn't visible. It was silent. He hid behind quick words and precise gestures. And when someone asked, "Is everything all right?" he responded with a smile that masked the inner pain. He couldn't admit to anyone how overwhelmed he felt. Because if I did that, it would be like admitting weakness. And he knew that the world expected perfection and clarity from him. Nothing less than that. Perhaps you'll see yourself here. Perhaps this silent pain resonates with what you feel, because it's as if the mind never switches off, and the others can't see how much it hurts. Because you show yourself to be strong. You've shown yourself capable. But deep down, what you want most is to get rid of the burden of having to know everything, having to understand everything, having to give all the answers. What no one realizes is the invisible effort, the effort to restrain oneself, not reacting, not saying everything you see. You filter thoughts all the time, because she knows that if she speaks, she might hurt someone. It may seem arrogant. You can move away. Then you keep it, and that silence becomes a burden. Inside, the mind doesn't rest. Even when the body stops, you revive conversations, rewrite scenes, imagine better answers. It anticipates scenarios that may never happen. And that's not control. It's an attempt at protection. Because when you understand too much, the world seems far too unpredictable. and thinking becomes a way of trying to feel safe. There is also a fear that is rarely talked about, the fear of being truly seen, because if someone could see everything you're thinking, maybe it won't stay. You might get scared, so you adapt. It decreases, it simplifies who it is, and little by little he drifts away from himself, just so as not to lose the others. You learn to function without emotional support. He'll solve it himself. He suffers alone. Decide for yourself. And when something goes wrong, guilt weighs more heavily, because you should have foreseen it. You should have known. And this internal pressure doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. It's constant. It's exhausting. Meanwhile, people see someone as cold, distant, too rational. They don't see the sensitivity behind the analysis. They don't see how much you feel. They don't see how much I care. Because feeling too much taught you to hide it, and hiding it became a habit, even when it hurts. Deep down, there is a simple pain. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You just wanted to rest. I wanted to let my guard down. I wish I didn't have to think about everything all the time. I wanted to be welcomed without having to explain myself. But since no one sees this pain, it continues to grow in silence. And the smarter you seem, the more invisible you feel, the more invisible you feel. Over time, this starts to take its toll. In relationships, you feel out of place. Not because she doesn't love him, but because he gets tired quickly. Repeated conversations, predictable conflicts, obvious emotional manipulation tactics. You see the end before the beginning, and that kills the charm, even when there are feelings involved. Self-esteem also suffers, not because he felt inferior, but because he never felt good enough. You know too much about your own flaws, regarding its limits, regarding what could have been done better, and this constant awareness prevents you from celebrating achievements. You minimize victories, ignore praise, keep going as if nothing else matters, because inside you, there's always something more that was missing. The decisions become more difficult. Choosing becomes a minefield. Each option brings dozens of possible consequences, and you feel them all even before you act. So postpone it. Avoid. Stay in safe areas. Not out of fear of trying, but due to mental exhaustion, because I've already experienced it all in my head, even before experiencing reality. The future is slowly losing its color, not for lack of dreams, but due to excessive realism. You see obstacles before you see hope. Difficulties come before opportunities. And that doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you tired. Tired of carrying the world in my mind. Tired of anticipating pains that may never come. But just thinking about it hurts. There is also emotional isolation, even when surrounded by people. Even though he is admired, you feel like you can't let your guard down. Because when you try to explain what you feel, it seems too complicated, too intense, and you fall silent again. Not because he doesn't trust her, but because he feels misunderstood. And that hurts more than being alone. In the end, the pattern closes. You become too strong to ask for help, too lucid to be fooled, too sensitive not to feel, too lonely to be seen. All this in silence. No scandal, no drama, just a slow wear and tear that nobody notices. But that shapes everything, your choices. You are not broken. You are hurt. There is a big difference between these two states. You don't need to fix something that's already working. You need to learn how to rest. Relieving the weight you carry without knowing it. Accepting that it's human and not an answer machine. The silent pain of intelligence doesn't have to be eternal. First, you must allow yourself to be imperfect. You don't need to understand everything all the time. You don't have to bear the weight of all the decisions alone. Your mind is not your enemy. She's your ally, but she needs boundaries, space to breathe, moments of guilt-free silence. Change begins the moment you decide to give yourself permission. Permission to not know. Permission to make mistakes. Permission to feel, without needing to understand the reason. Sometimes, the answer isn't in the reasoning. It's all in the experience. No living without control. Don't trust more than you understand. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, without fear. This journey will not be easy, because you live in a minefield of expectations. But freedom lies in taking small steps to find comfort in times of weariness. It's about letting go of always trying to be strong and accepting that you're simply human. You deserve to be seen, you deserve to be heard, and above all, you deserve to be understood, without needing to explain. When you allow yourself to, you realize that pain doesn't define who you are. She is only part of the story, and you, the whole story. The key to change lies in your acceptance, in their courage to be vulnerable. And believe me, that's stronger than any intelligence or perfection. Now more than ever is the time to heal, to let go of internal pressure and allow yourself the luxury of not being perfect. Allow yourself to be who you are, without filters, without expectations. This is the beginning of a new start, and the liberation of the mind that, until now, has been working against you. Perhaps no one has ever told you this like this before, but not all intelligence is born to shine. Some were born to survive, to detect danger before it arrives, to protect yourself from what hurts you, to endure more than is fair, and that leaves its mark. Silent brands that don't appear on the resume, not even in small talk. Being very intelligent sometimes means learning too early. It's losing your innocence too quickly. It's about understanding truths that the heart doesn't yet know how to bear. And that's tiring. It tires the soul. It tires the body. Existence is exhausting. But that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Deeply human. Perhaps today you don't need to understand anything anymore. Maybe you just need to stop fighting against yourself. Stop charging so much. Stop thinking that feeling is a failure, because it isn't. To feel is a sign of life. And you felt too much for too long, in silence, no audience, no lap. If this video put words to something you never knew how to explain, know that you are not alone. There are others like you, overthinking, feeling too much, too tired, and trying to exist in a world that only values superficiality. Perhaps the first step isn't to change who you are, but if you treat them with the same understanding what you offer to the world. And if this message resonated with you, if she touched you somewhere quiet, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, turn on notifications. This helps this content reach other weary minds, other profound hearts, other people who never felt seen. Because sometimes the darker side of being too smart, it's not about overthinking. It's spending your whole life thinking that he needs to handle everything alone.